With the last appearance of Darth Maul in the Clone Wars series, seeing him captured and then imprisoned by Darth Sidious, some of you may be wondering, how can Darth Maul be back if he was captured by Sidious? So I'm going to break down the full story of Darth Maul's escape from the clutches of the Dark Lord, Darth Sidious, and the events that lead into the Siege of Mandalore in the upcoming Clone Wars Season 7, Episode 9. Before we get into it, remember to smash the subscribe button to be notified as soon as I release my Clone Wars Season 7 Episode 9 recap and explainer video. So, I'm going to dive deep into how Maul escaped from one of the galaxy's most impenetrable prisons called the Spire and the events following. As Maul hangs silently from the energy beams inside of his prison cell, Sidious and Count Dooku enter Maul's cell to ensure that everything is going according to their plan. Sidious intends to use Maul to locate Mother Talzin and attempt to kill her once and for all. The two had previously worked together, with Sidious attempting to learn the mystical powers of the Force Witches of Dathomir. Sidious then leaves Maul and Count Dooku alone in the cell. Dooku attempts to force Maul to expose the names and locations of his new Shadow Collective bases and connections, but to no avail. Maul of course refuses to give up the information, prompting Dooku to repeatedly torture him with Force lightning.
Never.
Only moments after Count Dooku leaves the prison cell, Maul's loyalist Mandalorians burst through the walls of the prison in a daring escape. They free Maul from his restraints and carry him to his rescue.
Lord Maul, we're gonna get you out of here.
The group fly away from the Mountain High prison, with Maul using a zipline to aid in his escape. As the Mandalorians are leading Maul to the escape ships, more Mandalorian fighters fill the air and shoot down the separatist droids that are guarding the facility. They eventually board the ship and make their escape to the Death Watch hideout on Zanbar, which we've seen multiple times throughout the Clone Wars. Unfortunately for them, Grievous and his fleet managed to place a tracker on their ship before they departed. Grievous is then ordered by Dooku to pursue the Mandalorians to Zanbar, but to ensure that Maul survives, because of Sidious's plan for Mother Talzin. Upon Maul's return to Zanbar, he is greeted by his loyal Mandalorian followers and handed back the Darksaber, which was left behind after his capture on Mandalore. Maul then rallies his troops and prepares them for the incoming attack by General Grievous's droid fleet. Hordes of droids swarm the base on Zanbar, but they are no match for Maul and his incredible ability with the Darksaber. For those of you who don't know, the Darksaber actually becomes lighter as its user gains more experience with it. That, combined with Maul's strong connection to the Force and previous lightsaber combat training, make him an almost undefeatable foe. Maul then rips through Grievous's Magna Guards, while his Mandalorian troops decimate the other incoming droid forces. At this point, Maul becomes enraged with Grievous and challenges him to a face-to-face fight. Grievous obliges and charges through the Mandalorian troops, shredding them to pieces as he moves towards Maul. Maul then attempts to ambush Grievous from behind, but his dark black blade is quickly blocked by Grievous's mechanical arms.
Grievous.
Despite the Mandalorian troopers being significantly more skillful than the mindless droid army, they only have a very small number of men available to fight. The droid army, on the other hand, is unending. This leads to the droids overwhelming Maul's forces and gunning a large amount of them down. Following that, Maul calls in Mandalorian reinforcement gunners. They rapidly arrive at his location, carpet bombing the whole area. Maul is then quickly evacuated to another ship, leaving Grievous alone on Zanbar. As Maul is escaping the scene of the battle, Grievous admits that his forces were just about depleted and on the verge of being defeated had Maul not chosen to retreat. This is now the point where Maul returns to Mandalore and is able to make the transmission that we saw in Clone Wars Season 7 Episode 8. Moving on to Issue 2 of Son of Dathomir, we begin in hyperspace en route to the planet Ord Mantell, where a base of operations for the Black Sun crime syndicate is located. Maul begins to meditate, communicating with Mother Talzin through the ancient mystical force magics of the Night Sisters. He seeks the guidance of Mother Talzin and what he should do next in his fight against Sidious and Dooku. Mother Talzin informs Maul that,
"With Sidious, nothing is ever as it seems."
What is your guidance?
Talzin knows that Sidious will expect Maul's Mandalorian forces to retreat back to Dathomir under her protection, so she advises him to lead his fleet to Ord Mantell. She informs Maul that although she cannot physically be present on Ord Mantell, she will soon send help from Dathomir. Following that, Maul rallies his troops once more and warns the leaders of the other crime syndicates in the Shadow Collective to prepare for invasion. An interesting note here is that Fife is now leading the Pike Syndicate instead of Marg Krim. This is likely because he is killed between Son of Dathomir issue number 1 and issue number 2, with Fife taking over the Syndicate. This also means that Maul's transmission from Clone Wars Season 7 Episode 8 takes place between his prison break in issue number 1 and the events that are happening right now in issue number 2. The criminal leaders are initially skeptical about their odds of victory against Grievous's droid army, but Maul quickly convinces them that it will only be necessary to defeat their leadership, as the mindless droids will fall down without their leaders. Meanwhile, General Grievous along with Count Dooku receive intelligence from their spies that Maul's Mandalorian fleet has amassed on Ord Mantell. This confirms Dooku's suspicion that Maul is partnering with the Black Sun as part of his Shadow Collective. Dooku will not authorize the strike on Ord Mantell unless they are granted confirmation that Mother Talzin is there with Maul. Grievous questions why Mother Talzin is such an important target for Sidious, but he is left out of the loop on the matter and will only be informed when absolutely necessary. As they are awaiting confirmation on Talzin's location, their reconnaissance droids detect a single transport shuttle leaving from the planet Dathomir, but they are unable to scan the capsule for life forms. Dooku believes that this may be Talzin attempting to aid Maul's forces on Ord Mantell, forcing him to begin his journey to the planet. He grants full military control to Grievous with one condition, being that his forces do not go anywhere near the mystical witch, Talzin. Soon after, on the surface of Ord Mantell, Maul rallies his troops and details his plan to defeat the incoming separatist invasion forces. His planning is interrupted, however, when reports reach Maul that the transport from Dathomir has arrived. Instead of Mother Talzin being on board as expected by Dooku, the transport was filled with a battalion of Night Brothers from the same village that Savage Opress was taken from earlier in the Clone Wars. The Night Brothers were led by Brother Viscus, being sent by Mother Talzin to aid in the defense of Ord Mantell. As soon as Grievous's ship exits hyperspace at Ord Mantell, they begin a swift and shocking orbital bombardment of the planet. Their laser cannons bombard the surface with heavy and unavoidable fire. Maul then hastily commands his troops to begin their defense of the planet, sending the underworld mercenaries, the Mandalorian fighters, and the Night Brothers into side-by-side combat. His troops chant the phrase "victory or death" as a battle cry before entering the battle. This phrase will likely be very important as we move into the Siege of Mandalore, with the title of the final episode of Clone Wars Season 7 being Victory and Death. As Grievous's droid forces land on the surface of the planet, Maul's combined army stands strong in the face of their incoming attack. At that same moment, Count Dooku disembarks from his ship in the hopes of directly hunting down and capturing both Maul and Mother Talzin. Grievous also realizes that something isn't right.
Something isn't right.
He knows that Maul has several Mandalorian warships at his disposal, but they are nowhere to be seen. These missing Mandalorian warships then appear in front of Grievous's fleet, bombarding their ships with torpedoes and laser cannons, as Maul prepares to capture Grievous. As Dooku moves closer towards the Mandalorian Forward Command Center, he is ambushed by the battalion of Night Brothers from Dathomir.
We've come to deal with you.
The crime bosses begin to lose faith in Maul's leadership, quickly realizing that their forces are being slaughtered. Maul's forces in orbit are experiencing great success, however, gaining access to Grievous's ship, slicing through the inner walls with his crimson-bladed lightsaber. Cutting back to Dooku's duel with the Night Brothers, we see him unleash a powerful burst of Force lightning, temporarily debilitating the resilient Night Brother warriors. One of the Night Brothers, who is too far away to be affected by the lightning, charges Dooku. Meanwhile, Maul breaks into the bridge of Grievous's command ship, decimating all of his droid security and tackling him to the ground. Maul places his luminescent dark blade at Grievous's neck, demanding his surrender. Back on the surface, Maul's Mandalorian troops and the criminal mercenaries are on the verge of defeat, standing hands behind their heads waiting to be executed. As the droids are about to fire on the prisoners, they are suddenly deactivated by Maul on the command ship above. He has saved his loyal Mandalorian fighters and his alliance with the criminal underworld. Dooku and Brother Viscus continue their vicious duel before Viscus is slammed into the floor once again on the verge of death. Dooku's luminous red blade lies at the neck of Brother Viscus, but before he is able to strike, the Mandalorians and the mercenaries show up, saving his life. Finally, Maul contacts Mother Talzin to inform her that he has now captured both Grievous and Dooku. Moving on to issue 3 of Son of Dathomir, we begin in the office of Chancellor Palpatine, who is being informed about the situation on Ord Mantell by Mace Windu.
Could this be the rogue Sith you've been searching for?
Palpatine of course already knows about the situation because he is orchestrating it, but this allows him to deceive the Jedi even further, by making them believe that Darth Maul is the Sith Lord that they were looking for, and that Dooku was the apprentice. Jedi Masters Obi-Wan Kenobi, Tip Lee and Mace Windu then travel to Ord Mantell to hunt down who they now believe are the two Sith that Master Yoda had warned about. They are puzzled about the true identity of the army that fought on Ord Mantell, as all the evidence of their existence was wiped from the battlefield. All except for a red and yellow horned Mandalorian helmet, as worn by the Mandalorians loyal to Maul as their leader. After finding this helmet, they conclude that corrupt Prime Minister Olmec is working with the Mandalorians and that Maul is still lurking in the shadows. Tip Lee and Kenobi then set off to a Mandalorian outpost in an asteroid belt, where they believe Death Watch's operations have shifted to after the loss of the base on Zanbar. Maul then begins a hologram call to his former master Sidious, showing that he has captured both General Grievous and Count Dooku, warning him that his plans are unraveling. Seeing Dooku and Grievous in this vulnerable state is such an awesome thing, and honestly one of my favourite parts of the comic, despite them not really being in any true danger, with Sidious pulling the strings.
Lord Tyrannus, you disappoint me.
Sidious suggests that Maul kill Dooku, as he no longer has a use for him, knowing Maul will not be able to carry it out. Maul then separates the two separatist leaders, sending Grievous to the brig, leaving himself alone with Count Dooku. We then get a hilarious line from Grievous where he says, "It would be unfortunate if next time we met, Count, I had to add your lightsaber to my collection." Back on Obi-Wan's cruiser, he thinks back to his last encounter with Maul, where he lost the love of his life, Duchess Satine. Despite this, he remembers his training and does not allow his emotions to cloud his judgment on the mission. Interrupting their conversation, Commander Cody notifies the two Jedi that their probes and ships are ready to deploy. Following this, Maul offers to form an alliance with Dooku to defend against the impending Jedi attack. He initially offers to make Dooku his new apprentice, but Dooku's loyalty to Sidious would never allow him to do that. Mother Talzin then appears as an apparition to Dooku, telling him of the history between her and Sidious, even informing him about the story of how Maul became his apprentice. While Maul is distracted, Dooku uses the Force to free Grievous from his cell, allowing him to rampage through Maul's Mandalorians, tearing them to shreds. At this point, Dooku has no choice but to team up with Maul to ensure his own survival. Maul uses his lightsaber to cut Dooku free before rushing out to confront Kenobi and Tiplar. Maul slices through many clones before reaching Kenobi. Kenobi now believes that he has confirmation that the two Sith that they are looking for are in fact Maul and Dooku. He's obviously wrong about this, but for now he continues to hold that belief. Maul's weightless darksaber comes up against Kenobi, while the crimson hue of Dooku's curved blade faces Tiplar. The pairs are moments away from locking blades before Mace Windu and Aayla Secura arrive to settle the matter once and for all. Secura and Windu begin to duel Maul, while Kenobi and Tiplar switch their focus to Dooku. Dooku uses Force Lightning on the two Jedi, but they are quick to block it. As the two are focusing all of their energy on blocking the lightning, Dooku force pulls Tiplar towards him, brutally piercing her with his blade. Kenobi lets out a cry but must continue the mission or face the same fate as her. Both duels are hastily ended by Maul's troops firing a rocket into the main bay of the outpost, knocking everyone to the floor. This allows Dooku and Maul to escape the reach of the Jedi, fleeing to their ship while deflecting the incoming blaster fire. Maul, Dooku and Grievous escape the asteroid outpost, but Maul's leadership again begins to come under fire after many of his men are rounded up and captured by the Republic. To end this issue of the comic, we then get a great scene with Palpatine where Mace Windu informs the Chancellor that they have now solved the mystery behind the true identity of the Sith. Palpatine listens to Windu's discovery with a menacing grin on his face as the man pulling all of the strings. Beginning the final issue of Son of Dathomir, Maul is speaking to the leaders of the criminal syndicates that make up his Shadow Collective. They are unhappy with the losses incurred at the Battle of Ord Mantell and the asteroid outpost. Maul keeps the criminal organizations on board, but only by a very thin string. At this point, we return to Dathomir, where the Night Brothers welcome Maul back to his home planet. They escort Dooku into an ancient mystic chamber where they begin to use the Force magic of the Night Sisters to allow Mother Talzin's spirit to possess him. Meanwhile, Sidious and Grievous cloak their ship as they make their descent into the atmosphere of Dathomir. Dooku is in immense pain as Mother Talzin takes control of his limbs and his mind. In Dooku's weakened state, Maul tells him that the reason he hasn't been able to detect her is because she sacrificed much of her own form to resurrect him. A loud bang rips through the spacious room as Grievous bursts through the rocky wall.
Blood is about to spill, alright. Yours.
Maul retorts, telling Grievous that he is too late and that his plans are already in motion. This is quickly put to rest by Sidious's arrival. As this is happening, the bases of the Black Sun Clan and Pike Syndicate are swarmed by Separatist fleets, prompting the leaders of these groups to become extremely angry with Maul and pull their support for his leadership. Maul and the Knight Brothers continue the spell on Dooku, placing him further under the control of Talzin, to the point where he no longer has any consciousness of his own. A massive lightsaber battle breaks out, with Grievous confronting Maul and Sidious fighting Talzin through the possessed body of Dooku. Sidious and Talzin exchange blows of the lightsaber, but the Dark Lord is much too powerful for her, knocking the lightsaber out of Dooku's hands. He then uses a strong jolt of force lightning on Dooku, attempting to remove Talzin from his body. The pain is so intense that Maul and Grievous briefly pause their own fight to observe Dooku's pain. Eventually, the power of Sidious is overwhelming enough to force Talzin out of Dooku's body, forcing her to stand face to face with the Sith Lord.
I am whole. I am returned.
As Grievous is pushed aside, Talzin and Sidious face off, with Mother Talzin using her mystic powers to reflect Sidious's incredibly powerful force lightning. Maul imparts his strength upon his mother, but Dooku does the same for his own master, creating a complete stalemate between the force users.
Fight, mother, fight!
As this is going on, Maul's Mandalorian troopers urge him to leave as Dathomir is now lost, but he refuses to leave his mother to die. Talzin then pulls a move of great sacrifice, weakening herself to save her son by pushing him back to his ship. This lowers Talzin's defenses and allows Grievous to approach her, stabbing her through the chest with his green and blue blades, finally ending the life of Mother Talzin. Her spirit rapidly leaves her body as Maul is dragged away from the scene in tears. And that's where the comic ends. Dooku apologizes for his failure to capture Maul, but Sidious says that everything has proceeded as planned. That's everything you need to know about Darth Maul's story before the Siege of Mandalore. So remember to subscribe to the channel to be notified as soon as I release my Clone Wars Season 7 Episode 9 recap and explainer. Thanks so much for watching, cheers guys.